And there's a shift happening in the people space. Instructors are becoming influencers. Competency models are being replaced with charisma. Staff are becoming entrepreneurs, or they want to have a bigger say or be a bigger part in your industry. And generalists are becoming specialists. So we have to factor these things in with the millennial mindset. I'm a millennial now. I want things hard and fast, and if I'm not happy, I'm out of here so fast. So we've got to get with the times in the people space.
You're listening to episode 152 of the Fitness Business Podcast. We'd like to thank this month's premier podcast partner, Team Rockstar Fit, the mastermind team that helps fitness professionals and studios add nutrition, fitness, and online coaching to their existing business with tools from Beachbody. Visit teamrockstarfit.com. Welcome along everyone to this week's show. I'm your host Chantal Broderick, and this week's special guest is the super energetic speaker, writer and mentor Emma Barry. Emma is an observer and a catalyst, a founding member of group fitness juggernaut Les Mills International and a previous director of group fitness programming for the luxury lifestyle brand Equinox. Emma has inhaled senior roles in programming, product development, global training, and people and culture. She's fluent in what happens next, and during our catch-up, we spoke about what we can learn from the boutique studios and actions that we can implement based on those learnings. Before we transition to my chat with Emma, I want to thank this month's premier podcast partner. Team Rockstar Fit is an award-winning mastermind team that helps fit pros lead happy and balanced lives. Get mentoring and support. Learn how to grow your business online with Beachbody. You can apply for a free consultation today at teamrockstarfit.com. Hey Emma, welcome along and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. So happy to be with you down under.
Down under. Now, we're talking today about learning from boutique studios, and I thought perhaps you could set the scene by first defining for us what is a micro club or a boutique studio?
Great. So easiest way to think of it is literally the retail trade. So think of a big department store versus a small designer boutique store, and it's exactly the same in fitness. So from about 2005, 2006, these have popped up. So they're smaller in real estate, so they're more intimate in terms of scale. They have a narrow program offering. Now, this might be one class like a SoulCycle, or it might be a small series of classes, and in some places it will be a collection of multidisciplinary exercise programs. So it's schedule-driven, which means you're going to find this class a lot of times a day generally. And it runs on a high service model. So they've really schooled the industry really on how to serve members. And there are many fluid financial models. So you'll find you don't necessarily have to get locked into membership. So these operate in areas like bar and cycle and dance, boxing, HIIT, yoga, PT. There's quite a span, but those would be the main ones.
Okay, perhaps give us a few brand name examples that we might recognise.
For sure. So some of the bigger ones, and the queen of the category, of course, SoulCycle, which launched in 2006, so a little over 10 years old now. Barry's Bootcamp, which everyone would have heard about, Orange Theory. So these are big operations, very scaled. And then each country or culture or sometimes a city can have a series of boutiques as well. So some examples there. One of my favourites in New York is Tone House, which is very athletic. It's like NFL inspired. In London, I love Ministry of Fitness, for example. So they've really built off the Ministry of Sound brand and built that out as a fitness offering. In LA, I love Gloveworks, which is a boxing brand of some pro fighters, and you do some amazing mitt work. And of course, your famous F45, the functional training from Aussie, which I actually have just come out of doing a week with those guys in Hermosa Beach. So there's some examples that I enjoy anyway.
Emma, when I was in the States towards the end of last year, I actually went along and did a SoulCycle class in Boston. And I'm a cycle instructor myself, and I absolutely, all the listeners know that I love going to Soul. And What I found was particularly interesting about this, and you brought it up in that first answer, was the customer service. Because from the moment that I walked in the door to the moment that I left that studio, I had the most amazing end-to-end customer service experience, just from the people that were working on desk, the instructor. So it was complete. And I mean, quite often, you mentioned that those facilities are known for their customer service and their customer experience. So what is it that really makes that so appealing? Talk to us about that experience that you get in the studio.
100%. So if you think about it, it comes down to being single-minded. And I'm going to bring this point up a little bit later in terms of what we can do our own businesses. But to have one thing that you're focusing on, and SoulCycle is a great example. So when the ladies created that, they wanted to create a class that was, part workout, of course, you've got to give that, but part therapy, part rock concert, all of these things. And then they just literally created one brand experience. So they're very specialist and it's very narrow in terms of its focus. And it allows you to bring all those touch points and to unpack them in a way that it never deviates from the reason you are there. I want to feel like they basically judge themselves on, did I shift your soul? Did you leave the studio feeling more magnificent than when you came? And if that's a yes, then we achieve success. And if not, we miss. So when you're that focused on what the outcome is, everything you do, everything you touch, everything you pick up, the walls are branded, the gear's branded, the water bottle, everything about it is absolutely singing to that one tune. And I think that's the biggest lesson we can learn actually from boutiques.
Yeah, the consistency is just amazing. And even you mentioned Barry's Boot Camp earlier. They extend it through the experience that you have in the exercise side of things, but then also through to when you leave and you grab a smoothie from the smoothie bar. That is also included in that consistency of branding, isn't it?
100%. And also think about this, when you've got a series of people that are very, very like-minded, it's actually really easy to deliver to those people because they only have a very set, small set of needs. So you could, if it's bar, for example, it might be the slimming, juice that you get at the end because you know that everyone's there to be long and lean. If it's Barry's Boot Camp, you know that they've just left themselves on the floor and you're going to need to replenish together. So, you can see how it all sings together because of that singularity.
Okay, so let's dive in a little bit more to those lessons that we can learn. So we've got our club owners that are listening at the moment, our managers of possibly or probably big facilities or people that are just coming into the market. What are some of those key lessons that we can learn from the boutique studios?
Great. So I would say it's around really understanding your customer and really delivering to that need. So the biggest thing I could say would be start mapping. Map your journey for your customer. Map your journey for your staff or your contractors, and map your journey of the actual workout or the workouts or the programs that you are offering. Because when you slowly and mindfully go through that process, and as I mentioned before, if you unpack each of those touch points, you learn a whole lot. So if I'm a customer, take SoulCycle, for example, that started when I first saw the social media post and shout out from 3 of my best friends. I then hooked up online. Notice I did that online. They automated the mundane. And I hooked up online. I then had a phone call with someone who was incredibly friendly. She encouraged me and she said, it's absolutely vital you come in 15 minutes before your first class so that we can show you around. I did that because I was too scared not to, and I knew that there's all these rituals around it. You don't want to get caught out around rituals. So I went early. I got welcomed by 3 people, given my water bottle, given a tour of the whole facility, told this is where you're going to wait, your instructor's going to welcome you in, etc. So look at that human touch to that point, and I haven't even got on the damn bike yet. That's amazing. And then you'd walk through and then you're welcomed onto the bike. There's always a concierge service. So people are running around making sure your bike fits and the water bottle's there and you've got your towels and everything's beautiful. It's pristine. It's like, when people open the doors and everyone runs into a concert, it's the same thing. So then when that instructor comes out, they are a rock star, right? Because everyone's been doing all the running around. They come in and they own that stage. And then on comes the music, right? And that is not just any system. That's probably about it could be anywhere from 2 to 4 times what a typical studio might spend in terms of sound. And you know this, the last time I was in the SoulCycle, I looked up and there were 18 speakers on the roof.
Yeah.
So the sound is spectacular. They customise their music, their talent. And let's talk about the talent, because those girls did something very special. What we do in the fitness industry, or what we have done historically, is to train people. Hey, go and get certified in this, whatever. And then we're going to hope that you have some charisma to pull a crowd. They did it the other way around. They became a talent agent, and they thought, what if we took those stand-up comics, those models, those actors, a few semi-celebrities, and taught them how to ride a bike? How hard could that be? So they flipped the whole model and then trained them intensively. In the early days of Soul, some friends trained in the first tranche of people there, and it was up to 6 months, riding twice a day, massive training to be able to create this vibe that they're doing for people. So so you've kind of got that whole experience, and then they do take you through a journey, and that's another thing. When it gets to mapping the journey, you're getting a result, but you're also feeling a certain way, because we are emotional beings that are just running around following our feelings, really, if you think about it. And if that's not powerful enough to pull you back, you're going to fail ultimately. So, they do that. And then the after service, you get all the shout outs, you get all the self and people talking about who goes to Soul. You are not forced, but you're encouraged to be in these social environments. You leave the room and there's a natural sitting area, so you can sit there and compare how you're feeling with your friends. The lockers are there, like you say, you can shop on the way out, those sorts of things. So the whole thing has been very well thought out, and all those touch points are very mindful. And then you're gently out the door, and we look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. Thanks for coming,
Yeah, and the thing that's coming to my mind at the moment, I think a lot of our listeners are probably thinking, well, that all sounds amazing. There's heaps that we can learn from that. But what if we don't have the budget to invest in training our group fitness instructors for such a long period, or we don't have the budget to always have that beautiful concierge service that you get in the boutique? But there is another element that I wanted to touch on that I have experienced that I think that any club can do, and that is the way that the boutique studios handle their social media and their email comms. And you mentioned right at the beginning that the booking, when you book on for a class in any of the boutique studio, it's all online, right? So it's super easy. They're booking online, you pay online, there's no money exchanged in the actual studio. But of course, what that does, the beauty of that is that all of a sudden they have captured your email address. Yep. And I purposely keep signed up to Flywheel, SoulCycle and Barry's so that I see the email communication that they send out. And I think that one thing that a lot of gym owners, can observe and can learn from is just how well they have that communication with their members and with their participants after they've attended a class. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I really do. And just a couple of things before I answer that for you. First of all, you go to a SoulCycle, you're paying $42 a class, or $35, or whatever it is. It might vary a little bit based on where you are. That is a lot of money to play with, especially if you've got quite a full class. That's a lot of money coming in. So you can add those service things. So that's the first thing that I wanted to mention. Look, it doesn't matter if you're more value-based, or maybe you just don't make that much money. You can still create a very powerful point of view, and you can still decide we're going to be the friendliest place in town. And then that comes down to, how do I greet you? How do I farewell you? How do we talk to each other? What's our language? What's the style of our communication? So you don't need to have 5 concierges leaping on you to set up your one bike. There are other things that can come into play around those touch points, but if you actually slow down and look at them, that will come to you. So that was just, and I 100% agree. The second thing I wanted to bring up is, when you are working for a full service club, how many things could you be doing in there? And I always felt this tension when I was with Equinox, and also when I was working club side with Phillips Les Mills gyms. There are so many communications that can go out. You often have people saying, or the comms department or the marketing department, oh, we've got too much going out, but you had. And so I just wanted to bring up, there was a great thing I saw last year over at FIBO, actually. The fitness first crowd in Europe had done some wonderful custom segmentation of their customer list. So they had actually broken it in. It ended up being like about 6 different types of member. And then they were able to know what those members came for. This person comes in alone. They just want to do their own thing. This is the sort of ideal experience they might like. They only want to hear from us on these things, like what the open hours are and this, that. They hate the events. They hate anything that's social, so we don't send them any of that. So this sort of talks to your email thing, because I don't know about you, but if I get emails that don't talk to me, I just delete or get rid of them so fast.
Absolutely.
So I absolutely agree with you. There's a huge opportunity to follow up. And then the challenge around that is to follow up in a way that's appropriate to that member. So I've already said, if I go to SoulCycle, I know that people already like riding bikes. I know that they're not going to be a purist cyclist, because that purist is going to be at some other cycling or a Peloton. They're going to be somewhere where they cycle for real, not cycle to, shift their soul. It's a different offering. So, so I would do that. And then pushing out through social media, everyone jumping on the selfie thing, but beyond that, actually knowing what you do. And we know this, they track your usage, they can track, emails that go to you. But also, we know that a lot of emails don't get open. So they tend to take an omnipresence. There tends to be a lot of social media, a lot of shares, because what you share with your friends is more likely to get through all the filters and, really target the algorithms in that way. So I 100% agree with you. You've got opportunities to follow up, many opportunities.
Emma, with that Fitness First example that you mentioned that you saw in FIBO, I don't know if you went into this level of detail with them. I was just wondering, do you know how they collected the information in order to categorise their members into those 6 categories? Because I think that's a phenomenal idea, and I know that a lot of CRMs these days can quite easily segment your audience or your members. Do you know, did they collect that information in the initial meeting, or was that something that they did post membership joining?
Look, I believe there was quite a deep amount of work, and I don't brush over that lightly. I know that tracking people's behaviours, if you are not technologically set up to do so, is challenging. So I think they actually undertook a body of work. So there would have been, I expect, some ethnography around that. I'm sure they would have watched some of the behaviours of their members. I also know that they did, obviously you're getting people tracking in. So I think they were tracking both from memory. I think they were tracking who was being attracted to the brand, and then who was staying in the brand, and how are they using the brand, exiting the brand, staying or becoming an evangelist, because there's all of those things that happen within your club. So, and I think you've got to measure stuff, right? So you've got to know when a person walks through the turnstile, do they go right to group fitness, or do they go left to personal training, or do they go around the corner and do their own thing, or do they just go and sit in the spa, or do they sit in the cafe? They're just there for social. So they just, they somehow gathered that. Some of it was technology, I believe. Some of it was watching the members, and they would have had to have undertaken some research from their membership as well. I'm pretty sure they had some focus groups and stuff like that. So, but, if you've got a small operator and it's not, maybe you don't have too much money, you can still, create a nice little group of members and actually ask them stuff. You can watch things, trust your instinct. You live in this business. Do you know what I mean? You can watch what people are doing. You can survey people if you don't have the tech systems to support that, but at least you should be able to get check in and check out. And then what they actually saw, the good news from all this is that all those segments started earning a lot more money for them. So they had more people joining because they were clearer about their offering, and then they had people staying longer because those people were being served in a very relevant way to why they use their facility.
That's what it all comes down to, doesn't it? Thank you so much for sharing that example. So last but not least, Emma, I'm hoping you can leave us with a couple of actions that we can take away to immediately implement into our business based on the learnings that you shared with us around boutique gyms.
Fantastic. So my first one would be, make sure that you've built a powerful point of view and brand. Now, you may be an existing business and might have been there for a while, but I urge you to go back and really say, look, what are we and what are we not? And then unapologetically be who you are, and don't worry about the rest. You're never going to keep everyone happy. There's plenty to go around. We've all got an offering that will interest someone. So build a powerful brand, or revisit that, and then center all your touch points around that. And choose what you're not going to do anymore. You know what I mean? Like, there's a whole bunch of, if you're going to be the friendliest place in town, there might be a whole lot of things that fall off because you can't be everything. But you might decide, if a person needs something, I'm there. That's what we're going to be really famous for. We're going to be famous for human connection or something like that. And that might mean that some other things fall off, and that's fine. So that'll be my first thing. Secondly, I would really take a deep look at your staff or your contractors, your people who work for you, because there have been some very real shifts. And I actually just finished a chapter for the Europe Active guys, and that will be published later this year, actually, in a few months, I think, around human capital. And there's a shift happening in the people space. Instructors are becoming influencers. Competency models are being replaced with charisma. Staff are becoming entrepreneurs, or they want to have a bigger say or be a bigger part in your industry. And generalists are becoming specialists. So we have to factor these things in as the millennial mindset. You know, I mean, I'm a millennial now. I want things hard and fast. And if I'm not happy, I'm out of there so fast. So we've got to get with the times in the people space. So I would say, you know, what do your instructors want? They want fame and fortune. Now, we're probably not going to be able to give them much fortune, but you could certainly give them some fame. Celebritize your instructors. Train them on social media. Increase their followership. Offer sponsorship deals. You know, put them up for things. These sorts of things, because they want to be famous, and why wouldn't you do that? Because it's going to serve you, it's going to make them happier. And I think those are simple things that can be done, and people who do that definitely reap the rewards, for sure. So I'd look after the instructors. They want to be a part of the business, and if they don't like your business, they'll go and find a place that they love. So like's not good enough anymore, you have to love. I know Tim Ferriss spoke on a little bit about that too. Mm-hmm. So that would be my second thing. And then another one is really just embrace technology. I'm just gobsmacked that people are still trying to deny that it's coming. And I follow a lot. I love TechCrunch, and I follow Brian O'Rourke and people like that. I mean, he was laughed off the stage 5 years ago for talking about AI. Now we've pretty much got AI, you know, running a lot of things that we're not even aware of. So embrace tech to automate the mundane so you can focus on the stuff that matters, the human stuff, the connective stuff, the creative stuff, the strategizing, you know, all of that stuff that humans, you know, we're actually all about expression. So we should be able to do those things and let those other things be taken care of without being fearful. You know, and that was a great conversation I had with Brian the other day about, you know, people are so fearful of change. I mean, you think about it, when the fax machine came in, when the computer came in, when the wheel was invented, I mean, all of these things are threatening at the time. And provided we use them, you know, in good ways, they become enabling for us over time.
You know, I think, Emma, we're actually spoilt with the amount of technology that we have at our fingertips now as fitness business owners and managers. We actually have incredible systems available to us. And I tend to agree with you in that I think there is a fear factor that if I haven't seen someone else use it before me, then I'm a little bit nervous about diving into it. But I think that there are a lot of people in the boutique studios are a fantastic example who have paved the way and who've gone out and gone, yep, here's the online booking system, or here's how we're going to communicate with customers, and we're going to automate all of this. So I think that we do have some great case studies of what works and how effective it is to take advantage of that technology. So that's a really fantastic takeaway. Now,
and just coming off that, like, don't be fit, try stuff. I've been very fortunate to have been on so many innovation committees where we try stuff all the time. It's kind of like, I've got an idea, great, I want someone doing it next week so we can get some real feedback on it. So with the tech stuff, try stuff. You know, everything's crowdsourced now. I mean, you don't have to get married and, you know, decide this is going to be for 10 years. Try stuff and just, you know, partner with someone, say, hey, I'd love to try your system. Here's a small group of, you know, my members or my staff, whatever, we're going to try it on, let's do it. You know, just give it a go.
Yeah, that's really great advice. Now, I'm incredibly excited because we're going to be seeing you here in Sydney very soon. You're coming along to Philex 2018, which is going
I know. I'm so excited. Such a homecoming.
Now, do you want to tell everyone what you're going to be speaking on at Philex?
Absolutely. So I know I'll be joining you in some of the business stuff. So I've got a few topics that, I'm very blessed to be presenting. So I'll be a little part of the Woman Who Influence. I know that these are going very well at the conferences around the world right now. I'll be doing a piece on trends. So a lot of my life, I've been in the US for 4 years now. A lot of my life has been in LA and New York. So, you know, I'm in the boutiques and looking at, you know, reviewing products every day of the week and programs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that happen in the US, particularly on the coasts, you know, a lot of bi-coastal trends here. So I'll be doing a session on that, and it will relate to fitness, but it won't just be fitness, because we really are being shaped by, the Elon Musk and whatever he's doing, and all the driverless cars that are on the street and all of these things. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but it will relate to fitness. So I'm very excited to be doing that. And then I will also be doing a session on building a fierce people culture, and that is sort of across my 25 years of doing stuff in that space, and very, very excited about that, especially with these new insights that we've been looking into around the shift in human capital, and being led by great companies like Google, and how important education and growth is on our millennials, and how people are actually purpose over finances and things like this. So really excited to be talking about that, and I'll be around. I'm there for a week, and hoping to catch up with very many people. And I know there's a lot of people from the US, and I know it's a long way, but this is a fabulous conference. It's still one of my favourites around the world, and it really, really adds value. Like, I've just loved the job that Filex has always done for the industry.
We are very, very lucky to have a conference of such high quality with such amazing speakers, and it sounds like your schedule is going to be extremely busy over those couple of days. So we're lucky to have you speaking. Emma, I am just so thrilled and so grateful that we had a chance to catch up and talk all about the lessons that we can learn, of course, from Boutique Studios, and also to hear about your sessions coming up for Filex 2018. So thank you for joining us, and I cannot wait to meet you in just a few months' time.
So welcome. Same here.
MyZone is a wearable technology platform that leverages personal goal setting, gamification, and social platforms to motivate your members. To find out more, go to myzone.org.
Get ready for this week's bonus segment, your extra injection of information, education, and inspiration to strengthen your fitness business.
A quick reminder that our next FBP Family Meetup is happening on Wednesday, March 21st. We're meeting at 5:50 a.m. at the main entrance of the Marriott Marquis San Diego Marina. We are going to walk and we're going to chat for 45 minutes, and then we'll be back at the Marriott by 6:50 a.m. To register to join us, just go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. At the top of the homepage, you will see a link to the URSA FBP Family Meetup. Before we finish off today's show, a reminder that all the resources, the links, and the transcript for today's show can be found at fitnessbusinesspodcast.com. A big thanks to all of our partners for their support, and to our foundation partner, Active Management. Go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active for a free business development ebook. Thank you for joining me for another week of the show. I will see you next week, and remember, what you leave behind is not what's engraved in stone monuments, but what is woven into the lives of others.